Merry Christmas, boys and girls. Nah, it's not Christmas, but it's just as good. It's the Soul Exchange. Time to sit back and relax as myself and Psycatsis give you all the information you need to pick the best possible hero from the upcoming Soul Exchange. Greetings, loyal minions. Welcome back to the Psy Show, the #1 ranked YouTube channel for people who have birthdays. If that's you, I appreciate you. A very quick disclaimer before we start. Psy is a moron, and what the fuck? How the Psycatsis is your... Apologies for that, everyone. I have gone to every effort to make sure the information in here is correct, but please note the hero cards themselves will contain incorrect information. It's impossible to get an updated card unless you have the hero yourself, and just keep that in mind. I will talk through the correct information, and I will also put the correct information on the screen, but the card itself will be, in some cases, have some incorrect information. Also keep that in mind when you're looking at information elsewhere, because I do see other sources that haven't corrected the information. So just keep that in mind. It is extremely difficult, so don't hold it against anyone. But keep that in mind. Now let's jump into it. You will see a very consistent theme throughout the video. I'll have the heroes card displayed whilst I talk through the hero skills and abilities. I will highlight the best bits as text on the screen, as you can see now. Then I'll give an overall summary of the hero. Then I'm going to jump into a slightly new sort of style where I will explain the type of player that may want to pick this hero and the reasons why. So it could be that a hero could be great for really early level players to get through map stages. It could be a unique skill that if they don't have any other hero with that skill, this could be good. At the end of each section, the 10, 15, and 20 souls, I'll simply highlight who I feel is the overall best pick for that tier. And at the end, I also have a full summary of every hero ranked by their power. So stay tuned for that. I think it's going to be a great, easy way to sort of judge the heroes just based on their power and the age and that type of thing. So hope you enjoy it. Let's get into Mortimer. Mortimer is a rogue. He's at special skill, tidal waves. He's running at average speed. He's dealing 480% damage to the target and minor damage to nearby enemies. The target and nearby enemies get silenced for 3 turns. The caster and nearby allies resist new effects that block usage of special skills for 3 turns. He also resists water damage. He does a damage over time on special, so when he casts his special skill, he also deals 202 water damage to all enemies over 2 turns. Overall, he is quite outdated. You will see that when I do rank the heroes by power at the end of the video, so again, keep an eye out for that. But yes, quite old, but the silence to 3 is quite handy. So keep that in mind. That can be great for certain areas. There are a lot of heroes that can resist that now, such as the Tombs and the Construct heroes. I think this hero could be useful for low to mid-level players who may not have completed all the map stages, may struggle in some of the events. The silence to 3 is great if you do not have any other silence or mana control type heroes to let you control the battle. Could even be useful in something like the Treasure Quest, even though he is quite outdated and would die reasonably quickly. That skill may be able to help you get through those types of things. Could be used in a pinch as a support hero in your war and raiding teams. Queen Guowang is a sorcerer running at average speed with a skill called the Queen's Radiant. Interestingly enough, I believe the Queen was included a couple of soul exchanges ago at a higher rate, which seems a little strange, but that's what we're running with. Special skill deals 330% damage to all enemies. All allies get plus 10% mana every time an enemy uses their special skill for 4 turns. The caster gets Vengeance for 4 turns. If Vengeance is dispelled by an enemy special skill, all enemies receive 525 damage. Now, it is a hit-all hero, does have quite old stats. Again, you'll see that near the end when I rank the power. So the mana gain mechanic is quite good, but it does depend on the enemy having their specials, which isn't ideal, but can be quite useful. Obviously, any free mana is good. The damage from the Vengeance, even though it's 525 to all enemies, which is a nice little bonus, but in today's game, that isn't really that high damage. So not a great hero, but a decent hit-all hero, decent passives, so could make a decent support hero. maybe an option for those low to mid levels who need a support hero that's got a few additional tricks. If you don't have anyone else that's helping mana gain, that type of thing. And there's certain maps where a hit all is fantastic, such as Monster Island, where you have those humongous hordes where there's so many. So if you're lacking hit all heroes, could be an option for that. Nima is a druid with a fast speed special skill called Fire Tigers, dealing 250% damage to all enemies, summoning a Fire Tiger Fiend to all enemies. The Fiend damages with 45% attack every turn. Fiend absorbs healing up to 45% of his target's max health. When summoned, the Fiend's target cannot cast any new taunt effects as long as they have a Fiend. And we are also ignoring taunt. The character's special skill is not affected by taunt, so it overrides that, which is great. And we resist special skill blocking, so that can be very handy. Overall, though, just an okay support if you're lacking anything else against taunt heroes, with someone like a Ludwig being in the recent Fated Summons. If you find that you really are struggling to stop that, Nima at fast speed may be able to help out there, but is quite outdated again, as are most of these ones at 10. So again, only really recommend for low to mid-level players. You might need a support hero, you struggle against taunt, or if you have no other Fiend summoners, it might be a way to, if you're struggling with teams that have a lot of healing, those Fiends may be a way to help you out there. And again, as a fast hit all, could be useful somewhere like a Monster Island if you are lacking stronger heroes. For anyone that cares, Kettle is a slow cleric. Skill is Dubious Cuisine, so he has a random food for special effect. He can have a 45% chance of casting Exquisite Food, which recovers 50% health for all allies and applies 400 growth for defense. But he also has a 45% chance to deal Rotten Food, which deals 350% damage to all enemies. All enemies receive 965 poison damage over 5 turns, and a 10% chance to cast Catastrophic Kitchen Failure, which deals 100% damage to all allies and all enemies. Basically, it also has the passive of the goblins, where 60% chance to give 90% damage to all enemies and minus 25% accuracy for 3 turns. He is pretty much a no-go. I don't even know what to say about him, really. Even if you get one of the good skills, the heal is really good, and 400 defense is quite strong. Running at slow speed, nothing special. He's always been seen as pretty much the most useless goblin. His hit all is only 350%, which isn't huge by any means for a slow hero. So just don't do it. Really, the only reason I can think of why anyone would bother is to just be different. If you think he's cute, you want a goblin, I can try and find a reason of maybe in low-level Rush Wars, he does have a 90% chance of doing something quite good. So if you're lacking any really strong heroes, but otherwise, Costume Heimdall, Wizard, running at slow speed with a Blessing of Gjallarhorn. So each fallen ally has 50% chance to get revived with 20% HP. All allies get plus 50% attack for 4 turns. All allies regenerate 672 boosted health over 4 turns. Does get the family bonus. All allies gain 10% mana when an Asgard hero dies if you just have one. And also gets the great costume bonus. So he's a decent reviver. Look, you may already have him. He has been in Fated Summons before, and I believe his costume was also available at the Outfitter. So there are other ways to get him, but I mean, if you haven't got him as yet, then he is a good reviver or a decent reviver. He does also have the bonus of already having a costume. So anyone that needs a reviver, low to mid-level, I would say. There are a lot better revivers. Map stages and quests, and obviously the biggest reason is if you already have his original maxed, this is just an easy way to get the costume on top of it and be able to improve him out of sight. sitting on the fence slightly at 10 souls. I think Mortimer probably has the most useful skill with that silence. However, Heimdall with the costume stats are way better. So either or, probably the best choices. Into the 15 soul heroes, and we have Xiong Sanjun, a paladin running at average speed with a skill Fury of the Mountain Lord. Unfortunately, still reasonably outdated with the overall power. Again, stay tuned for that at the end of the video. The skill is reducing max health of all enemies by 800 over 4 turns. That effect is stronger against enemies with boosted health. All allies regenerate 800 boosted health over 4 turns. Boosted health can also exceed max HP. All enemies get minus 24% mana generation for 4 turns. All allies get plus 24% mana generation for 4 turns. So he does do quite a bit, but things do take a little bit of time to fully get into effect. So it is average speed, but then you need 3 or 4 extra turns to get everything going. So he doesn't really do anything overly great. And, legendary troops have sort of hurt some of these types of heroes with the fixed sort of increase and decrease. So really with this one, I'm only saying low levels that really need a health booster and just anyone that gives you a bit of multi-purpose with that mana up and mana down. Moving on to Winnie, the Paladin running at slow speed. This is one of the stronger heroes in regards to hero power. Ursine Protection, I'm glad I said that correctly. We're cleansing status ailments from all allies, boost the health of all allies by a huge 1200. All allies resist max health reduction for 5 turns, and all allies get plus 60% defense as long as the caster has boosted health. We have a couple of passive abilities. Mana on buff received, so 5% mana when receiving a buff. So she does give herself the buff with the defense if she has boosted health, so that can give extra mana, which will help speed her up. Also gets health recovery on buff received, so it's 5% health as well on a buff or positive stack. So, was an annoying tank in the day, especially in Rush Wars. It's one of the most recent heroes, and as I said, it does have the better stats. If you need a good yellow healer / support, it would be decent, but probably not quite game-changing enough at slow speed. Very decent for the low to mid level. If you're looking for a huge booster, will be great for quests, that type of thing, and can be solid support with that priority cleanse. So, healer support could be good in your war teams, especially Rush. Serendite is a barbarian running at ninja speed, so the special has a different effect at each charge. On the first charge, we are dealing 160% damage to all enemies. All enemies receive 256 burn damage over 2 turns. All enemies get minus 64% decrease for any healing for 2 turns. On the second charge, 275% damage to all. All enemies receive 561 burn damage over 3 turns, and all enemies get minus 74% decrease. The healing for 3 turns. On the full third charge, we are dealing 340% damage to all. All enemies receive 840 burn damage over 4 turns and receiving minus 84% decrease of any healing for 4 turns. We have the Ninja family bonus, so we get a chance to dodge normal attacks and special skills, and also a chance to counter attack with a couple of heroes. So a little bit outdated again. I am sounding like a bit of a, just repeating myself. Does have a hit all attack very fast, which can be quite useful. However, the damage isn't great these days. Even if we're looking at the second charge, which is sort of, your average speed, it's just not hitting hard enough. The burn damage isn't enough anymore. That burn, I used to hate Serendite when she first came in, just getting that burn on you so quickly and cutting you down. But again, with heroes having so much more health now, the healing cut can be handy if you struggle against heroes that are healing, especially that are healing fast at tank position. You can throw Serendite in to drop that healing down to give yourself a chance. But with so many other hitters out there available, I would only really be suggesting to a low level. But again, if you need a very fast or decent hit all for something like a Monster Island or anyone to reduce those heals, then could be in consideration. Water Pipe is running at average speed, a fighter. Skill is called Harpoon Sentry. We are summoning a Harpoon Sentry minion for each ally with 12% HP and 20% attack. Each hit from a minion reduces the mana of the target by 5% and gives the target the following status ailments. Target gets minus 30% defense against special skills for 2 turns, and the target is immune to new status effect buffs for 2 turns. Has some passive abilities being from the sort of Hunter family, Monster Island type thing. We are damage over time on special, so it gives a Hunter's Mark to a random enemy, and they receive 150 damage over 3 turns. If they do already have that, it can be increased up to 1,500 in total. It takes a long time to get anywhere near that. Special skill damage reduction. So the character has a 10% chance to drop the direct damage received from special skills to 1. That actually seems to go off quite often. I have that on Hawthorne a lot. So the main thing here are the mana reducing minions. Gives you huge mana control. Unfortunately, the minions are reasonably weak now, and there are a lot of heroes out there now that do resist that mana reduction, such as your Toons, Garrison Guard, and there's also a lot of heroes now that just completely stop minions altogether with those passives. Could be okay if you're sort of pairing it with a War of Three Kingdoms costume hero that can stop their minions being removed and that type of thing. Yeah, very unique skill. The skill can still be quite annoying, but with the weaker minions, it's reasonably easy to overcome. Again, I would be suggesting a low level, and just if you need that mana controller, if you don't have any other sort of silence or mindless control, mindless attack, can help you get through the quest and map stages, and can still be annoying in wars at that lower level. Keeping in mind, also has the buff block, which can be useful against certain heroes with those strong buffs. Costume art, looking splendid. Running at fast speed, Paladin with the costume. Does have good overall power compared to a lot of the other heroes, as we do already have the costume. The skill is Protector of the Blue River, dealing 220% damage to all enemies. All enemies minus 35% defense for 3 turns. All fire enemies get minus 20% attack for 3 turns. Have a passive ability with a 50% chance to perform the following actions, which is dealing an extra 70% damage to all enemies, and all enemies getting minus 34% attack for 3 turns. That does have, I believe, 3 chances to strike as a costume bonus and updates to those costume bonuses. We also have a 50% chance to make a cast 35%, minus 35% accuracy for 2 turns, and burn damage over 2 turns to an enemy who deals special skill damage to this character. It's a little bit in-depth, these ones. This is a family bonus. And if the enemy's special skill defeats this character, the chance is 75% or 100%. Not really a thing to consider. It does get the costume bonus. Look, reasonable pick. I would have preferred to see it at 10, 15 with the costume. The passive can deal a bit of extra damage. So, yeah, decent overall hit all, defense down, obviously there for mixing with other green hitters. So we're looking probably applicable for low to mid-level. If you need a defense down as part of a green stack, so you can just hit then with your other, especially if you've got fast greens and can get them charged quicker. Again, good for Monster Island type of events where you have those huge hordes all at once and you need to hit all. And anything with defense down is good for Titans, so you can add 2 Titan teams. So a little bit of all-around usefulness there. There's not a huge amount separating these 15 soul heroes, depending on what you need. I feel for overall usefulness, we're going with a costume mat with a costume bonus. Gives just way better stats. Defense down, hit all, very useful in lots of scenarios. I have thrown water pipe up there as well, just because those minions can be bloody useful, depending on which heroes you've got to pair them with, which could increase their strength. But definitely on offense with those minions gives you huge mana control, which is very useful in lots of areas. Unfortunately, I feel there hasn't been a lot of heroes to put a lot of time into discussing. I'm a little bit disappointed with the Soul Exchange as a whole. There are still a couple of more decent heroes to discuss, but a good time for intermission. You know, take a stretch, get up, move around a little bit of fresh air if you need, grab a drink, jump in the bath, have some chocolate. Great time to consider subscribing to my channel. It is a fantastic way to support the channel, and I really appreciate all my current subscribers. Not far off the 1,000 mark, so it would be fantastic to get there as soon as possible. So if you do enjoy the content I put out, gently caress the subscribe button. Also, a great opportunity to thank Burks G, Elliot here, anyone involved with putting together these lists. It's fantastic to get these ahead of the time. It gives you plenty of time to do your research, figure out which hero is going to work for you, find out, if any of the costumes are going to be available in Costume Chamber anytime soon, that type of thing. Sorry, not Costume Chamber, in the Visiting Outfitter. Also, keep an eye out. I will try to do some more testing videos. They were very popular for the Fated Summons heroes. So keep an eye out for that. If you have any suggestions of heroes you want me to test, just let me know. And yeah, I can pop some testing videos out to give you an even clearer indication of where these heroes can be useful and why they might be suitable for your roster. Without further ado, I hope you're all relaxed. I hope you've stretched, feeling good, and we're ready for the next batch of heroes. Moving into the 20 souls category. This is great for people who are wanting to clear roster space more than anything else. Generally, those types of players probably don't need any of the heroes from Soul Exchange unless there's something very specific, but it's absolutely fantastic for clearing roster space to allow you to level up other heroes quicker. So just thought I'd throw that in there. Obviously, you don't need to complete Soul Exchange if you don't have enough heroes, or you don't find any heroes that are good enough. Just thought I'd take this opportunity to mention there are so many different opinions. A lot of it depends on your play style, who's used which heroes. It can all come into it. I have seen people say it's the worst Soul Exchange ever. I've seen others say it's the best Soul Exchange ever. I think that's a complete exaggeration, but also it's not the worst. There's always heroes for everybody. It may not be the best hero you need, but you can generally find a use for someone. Anyway, enough rambling. Deadboot is a very fast rogue. Being a goblin, they were very popular heroes. Special skill called Unshallowed Spirits. Steals all dispellable status effect buffs from the target and randomly distributes them on allies. Deals 375% damage to the target. Deals additional 50% damage per transferred status effect buff up to 625% damage in total. And it deals Wither, so the target gets minus 300 defense. Now, for anyone who doesn't know how Wither works, that lasts throughout the whole battle. Not like defense down where it's only for X amount of turns. Also has the Goblin passive of 30% chance to deal 90% damage to all enemies, and all enemies get minus 25% accuracy for 3 turns. So a reasonably small hitting sniper can get extra damage, but it does require the enemy to have buffs. Can work very well against taunters, and with the Wither effect is very, very good against Titans. So depending on which heroes you have, Wither works on top of defense down. So if you don't have any other Wither heroes, it's a fantastic way of increasing those Titan scores. Yeah, not a huge hit though. Possibly not worth 20 souls at all. But we'll move into some of the reasons why you may take him. So I'm saying can be useful at all levels, especially if you have no other Wither heroes, especially for Titans and Mythic Titans. Another thing I really enjoy very fast heroes for are war cleanups. So anytime there's a ghosting lane, I love the fact that I can take very fast heroes, ghost one set of tiles, and know that I've got my special skills up. I get quite nervous doing war cleanups, just on the off chance that you have a bad board. And I used to feel terrible doing cleanups if I failed. So I find very fast heroes great for that purpose. Up next, we have Kushenku, a paladin running at ninja charge speed. Again, you'll see in the table at the end, quite low hero power. So for 20 souls, I am a little underwhelmed. Anyway, it has the longest card you'll ever see. Hopefully, he knows how to use it. So it has a different effect when charged with 1, 2, or 3 charges. Now, I do enjoy the ninjas because of that versatility. If you get a really good board, you can hold off and fire them with a really powerful special, or if needed, you can charge them really quickly and try to get it out there. So on the first charge, we're dealing 280% damage to the target. The caster goes into hiding. While hidden, the caster can't receive new status effects or stacks, and all received damage is reduced by 20%. When the caster comes out of hiding, deals 227 damage to all enemies who use special skills whilst the caster was hiding. The target automatically casts Mindless Attack, the most important part, on a random ally when mana is full at the start of the turn during 2 turns. On the second charge, we're doing 370% damage. Hides for 3 turns. The damage reduction is 30%. When it comes out of hiding, it's dealing 316 damage to enemies. Casts Mindless Attack for 3 turns. And on the third charge, it's 4 to 50% damage to the target. Hiding for 4 turns, 40% damage reduction, and 348 damage when it comes out of hiding. And we're doing Mindless Attack on a random ally when mana is full for 4 turns. So there's quite a bit going on there. He also has the ninja family bonus of the dodge, 5-10% chance, 2-3 heroes. So yeah, quite outdated. I mean, it is very fast mindless attack, which can come in very, very handy. So think of even taking against a Bernadette where you get 6 tiles. I believe it's only 5 tiles, but 6 tiles, and you can kind of use that to your advantage then on Bernadette to make her, or other heroes such as Bernadette. Obviously, some people are immune to these sort of things, but yeah, great skill to be able to use, but just not sure it's worth it for those souls. So useful at low level if you're needing that mindless attack. It can help you with quests, can help you against certain really strong heroes in raids and wars that you're struggling against. Look, sometimes these heroes may not be useful for a low level, but then a high level that just already has a great roster may need that one specific skill. So yeah, if you're missing a mindless attack, there's a lot of other heroes out there with it. But if you are missing that, and if we're comparing the damage, it's on the second mana charge, it's doing sort of less damage than even Deadboot, which we were just talking about. So yeah, I'm a bit confused by a lot of these ones, to be honest. But again, there's always something for you to find. So there's always a hidden gem that might work in your roster and your playstyle. Let's move on. Black Caesar, who for some reason is a cleric, runs at average speed, is one of the stronger in the field, just considering the actual overall power. Pirate's Vengeance. He's dealing 335% damage to all enemies. Summons a Pirate Fiend for all enemies. The Fiend damage enemy with 100% attack every turn, which is quite good. The Fiend absorbs healing up to 45% of the target's max health, and the Fiend gives minus 45% attack to its owner for as long as the Fiend is there. Has the passive ability of resisting damage from status effects. Not a huge passive, but can be good against some of those really high damaging ailments. So yeah, he's got quite good fiends and does a decent amount of hit all damage. I was leveling this guy until I started getting a few better reds. I've got him at 370. So yeah, those fiends do quite a bit of damage compared to most fiends, but still not sure if it's worth the 20. It is probably one of the better ones. Yeah, let's see why I think someone may take him. So low to mid, and when I say that, I mean obviously it does depend on whether you're spending and your current roster. So yeah, low to mid, someone that wants to hit all as part of the damage stack. So stacks well with people like Brimstone, any red that hits all with defense down or elemental defense down. For those well stacked rosters, I think there's better hitters out there, such as your Pepper Flames, your Salamanders, your Ash, your Costume Gestalt. But he obviously has some fiends, so. Uh, on an offensive team, if you can take a team that has, a small booster or no healer at all, those fiends can do quite a lot of damage if left unattended. So, yeah, that's why I'm thinking you may take the burly looking pirate. So, the beautiful looking swan dancer Odette is a paladin running at average speed. Again, one of the higher hero powers, so one of the newer ish heroes available. Dance of the Swan. The caster regenerates 609 HP over 3 turns. Caster gets 45% chance to dodge special skills that deal damage for 3 turns. Cast Dance of the Swan to all allies but the caster for 3 turns. Uh, Dance of the caster means all existing status effects will be removed when this effect is added. So it's basically like a cleanse. Gives Dance of the Swan, which gives everyone else a 45% chance to dodge attacks and special skills. So that's normal attacks as well. So dodging tiles, which is quite handy. 50% chance to deal 360% damage to a random enemy after any subsequent allied special skill is cast. So it's probably safer to have that as part of a blue stack, so that if you get Odette charged, you then get your others charged. The problem is it is only the 50% chance to deal. So it's similar to Darkfeather, but just not quite as good. Also, Darkfeather's giving growth, etc. Also gives immunity to new status effects, new dance effects can replace it, but it gives you protection against someone like a Bernadette. So it's that sort of defensive dance, similar to what Odile does. Guardian Gazelle probably does similar, but also heals if you've got the costume, so that's probably a bit better. Effect can't be dispelled, and it's removed when the caster is defeated. Also have some passive abilities: heal when status ailment expires or cleanse. Removed or reallocated from them, the effect can only activate once per turn. Sorry, I was just got stuck reading then. And resist defensive ailments, so resistance against ailments that affect defense. So pretty decent stat still, and it has the dance. It prevents a debuff, so that does make it quite useful. Team dodge and can give the follow up attack. So it's very useful skills, but to me they don't really work that well together because you sort of need an additional healer. She's not healing anyone, so she's, as I said, similar to Darkfeather, but Darkfeather throws a heal out there as well. Odette is only healing herself, a bit selfish like that. So for me, she really is just giving you that protection against specific types of heroes that you're trying to block their ailments. Because her effect is undispellable, it can only be replaced with other dancers. I feel that's her best use. Now, depending on what level, at the moment, Bernadette's the obvious one. But yeah, I don't think she's overly useful in a lot of other cases. That follow up damage can be good, but again, I feel it messes with your team structure a little bit, as you do then, in my opinion, I would personally want another healer, in which case you're sort of messing a little bit with the team structure. Have we saved the best for last? We possibly have. Another hero with some exciting capability, Giamara, Cleric, running at average speed. Again, one of the newer, stronger heroes based on overall power. Power of the Forest is dealing 300% damage to all enemies. The caster gets an additional 100% power for the next special skill they cast. The additional power increases plus 25% each turn, up to a maximum of 200% extra in total. So that means the next time, if you've gone 3 or 4 turns, your next special is going to deal 500% damage. So that's fantastic. We'll move on. All enemies receive mana corruption for 4 turns. Each time an afflicted enemy receives mana from an additional source, they receive 400 damage. Additional sources include direct mana addition from special skills, status effects, level properties, passive skills, family effects, tile effects, and minions. Mana added for defense team at the end of their turn from matching tiles is included only if the target has a mana generation buff or a positive mana generation stack. A lot of words there, very basic terms. If they're getting more mana from a buff, etc., they will take some additional damage. If that's working per tile, in cases where it's happening per tile, that can be 400 damage each time a tile is giving them extra mana. Also gets health recovery on buff received, so 5% health when they receive a buff or positive stack. So against certain heroes, I'm thinking Nordica and Grim, a couple that come to mind. The extra damage can add up. As a damage dealer, again, the outdated stats do kind of hurt them a bit. Reasonably strong, but the mana corruption has some niche uses against certain heroes. One of the better heroes in here, but is it worth 20 souls? Why would you take her? So another one for all levels, taking as a hit all as part of a green stack. The additional damage on the follow-up hits with the plus 200% that you can stack onto your next special. If you're taking it as part of a green stack, it's probably not going to get the second hit off, depending on the situation. But that can also be useful in quests where you can just build up the damage and hit those bosses harder if you need to. So if you're struggling with any of those quests. A counter to specific mana buffers. So, as I said, Nordica, you've got Ludwig recently, so he's giving a mana buff. So you just can do that follow-up damage. And again, it's a specific counter for specific needs. That takes us to the end. So we'll move on to my best overall pick for the 20 souls. And then we'll do a bit of a summary where I rank the heroes based on their power and just give you a nice little snapshot to possibly help you pick the hero that's best for you. I think for all around usefulness, rather than just a niche sort of defender such as Odette against certain heroes, I think with the hit all capabilities, we're going a Black Caesar and Xiaomara as the best overall picks in the 20 souls category. So I've put together a list with the heroes ranked based on their overall power. I think you can see some interesting little things there. We can see both the costumes being Mart and Heimdall. With those costume bonuses, their overall power does increase quite a bit. So Heimdall for 10 souls is sort of in the top 5 there, coming in at number 5. This still depends on what skills they have and what you need. But there's some disappointing ones down. Kushanku, nearly down there in sort of 15th, but being charged 20 souls. Well, I've thrown some silly reasons in there. Hopefully, you get a bit of a giggle there after a pretty in-depth, long video. So thank you for staying with me. I really do appreciate it. I really hope it's given you something to think about in regards to which hero you may need to take and which heroes may fill a specific need on your roster. If you are regularly watching, please gently press the subscribe button, give your kitty a scritch for me, and have a good one.